We can get started. Hi everybody, good afternoon. My name is Louis Arouse and I am the Executive Director of Performance for Quality Training Institute, and I'm also the founder of Optimized Primate, an executive performance and wellness program. So today we're going to be talking about developing the ultimate competitive advantage. And now, you've heard of competitive advantage for sports and athletes and all that, but I'm talking about competitive advantage for business. So, before we get started, I want to ask you a question. So let's do a little bit of a game here. And this is apropos because we're talking about food here. So let's imagine we're in a competition, okay, and we own food trucks, and you're competing against me. But I'm going to give you the opportunity to give you one advantage, the optimal advantage. Let's say we're selling burgers, okay? So maybe you want the best meat available. Maybe you want to be able to sell the only one that has sesame seed buns. Whatever it is, okay? Andy, can you give me which one advantage that you would want to have that nobody else could have?
Excellent marketing.
Excellent marketing, okay. Ma'am?
Best food.
Best food, okay. We'll come over here.
Prime location.
Prime location, okay. These are all fantastic concepts, okay? Great advantages to that. Now I'm going to give you all of your advantages. Okay, there you are. I cannot have any of those. But I'm going to ask you for one advantage. And if I get this one thing, I guarantee you I'll beat all of them. You want to know what that advantage is? The starving crowd. That's the only advantage that I would want. That, in the food world, is the ultimate business advantage. That's the ultimate competitive advantage you would want in the food world. But now, in other businesses, there's going to be different competitive advantages you should have. But in order to find out what that is, you have to ask yourself a question. What is the number one ability that executives and entrepreneurs are hired for? Any ideas? Give me some ideas. What's an executive or an entrepreneur hired for? Anybody? Nobody?
To prime the pump.
To run what?
To prime the pump.
Okay, if it's an oil well, sure, okay. What else? What else is an executive hired for? Do we have any executives here? Any entrepreneurs? Any business owners here? Okay. What were you hired for?
To grow the business.
Grow the business.
Add value.
Okay. All right. Add value. Okay, totally. But those are actually things that you're paid for. It's not what you're hired for. But since everybody's probably thinking about the same thing, so you're
So
probably
you
thinking
say
about
they're hired for their skill set, or for their expertise?
you actually know that's once again it's
Okay.
something that you're paid for.
Okay.
Okay, close. That's
Okay.
something you're paid for. Don't feel bad. Everybody thinks the same way until I mention this. Here's why. But since you're all talking about paid, let's cover that. Okay. The number one ability that executives and entrepreneurs are paid for is to think. Okay. That's what you guys are all talking about. Those are all the skills that you're taught, that you're trained in. That's your ability to think. That's what you're paid for. It's not what you're hired for. But that being said, have you ever thought about why you think the things that you think? That's important for your business. Okay? So let's take a look at that. So on average, your brain goes through 60,000 thoughts in a day. Okay, that's a lot. Now, amazingly though, it's not all conscious thoughts. A lot of those are going on subconsciously that you don't even recognize or realize. So this brings me the opportunity to explain where those thoughts are coming from, because that's the more important part. And this is a simplified concept of the brain. Okay? And I'm going to actually simplify it even more, because I want to introduce you to the executive team of You Incorporated. Now, this back portion of the brain here, and I hope you're able to see okay over there, this back portion of the brain over here is comprised of some of the oldest, strongest, and fastest parts of the brain. This part of the brain has been around for millions of years. And it knows its job very, very well. And I consider this the board of directors of the brain. They're in charge of all the day-to-day operations that are going on inside your business, inside your biology. This other end here, this smaller portion, is part of the newest portion of the brain. And I consider it the CEO because it's where all of your logic, creativity, your goals, your planning, and your personality lies. So the person who's listening to this presentation right now is living inside here, not back over here. And when you look at it, the board of directors is capable of up to 400 billion bits of processing power per second, whereas the CEO is only capable of 60. Now that's important because when you consider that listening to one person talk takes about 50 to 60% of those bits to consciously listen to them. Now you can understand why listening to two people, you're pretty much gone. Okay? It's like you can listen, comprehend, you gotta pick one or the other. Okay? So when you look at it like this, that means that 95% of those thoughts that are processed every day go on subconsciously. You're not even aware of it. Whereas only 5% you're actually focused on. It's kind of similar to the way it actually works in a business, where you have the CEO having all the other people do the work. Where do CEOs usually go? I don't want to hear about any problems. Okay? Don't fix it. Just give me my result. That's all I want. Okay? And there are some problems down the road because of that. So now that being said, so all of these teams, the CEO and the board of directors, they still have to work together. What are they working for? They're working together for performance, to achieve certain goals. The survival and the ongoingness of your body and who you are. Okay? So that means that they're really interested in performance. Now, performance is really, really important. Let's face it, from the bedroom to the boardroom, it doesn't matter. Okay? People are looking to improve their performance. So in order to improve your performance, though, you have to change your behaviors. Now, you'll get a lot of people out there in business, they'll try to change their behavior. How? They got their quarterly reports. You know what, Annie, I've been looking at your report here, and you're doing okay over here, you're doing not so great over here, so can you give me a little bit more of this and a lot less of this, please? Now, that may or may not work. Sometimes it will work if the boss is right over you, then do your work, but it's not something that motivates you, that makes you want to keep going and doing that job. So they're only focusing on the outside, and focusing on the outside of performance doesn't work. We've seen that all happen. Many of you know what you're supposed to do, but you still don't want to do it. So that means you have to actually focus on what's going on the inside. And in order to change your behavior, you have to change how you think about things. Okay? How you think about things will change your behavior, which ultimately changes your performance. But how you think about things is really determined on how you feel about things. Now people may say, oh, wait, those two things are the same, aren't they? They're not. Because if you're scared of something, just because somebody tells you don't be scared of it, doesn't mean you're not going to be scared, right? So yes, it's true. Many people will tell you that thinking does affect your feelings, and that's true. However, as you just saw, feelings actually influence your thinking a lot more. So if you're not feeling right, that alters your thinking, alters your behavior, and ultimately destroys your performance. And now, if you go one deeper though, because that's not even enough, because your feelings are based on your emotions. Now most people will talk about, well, emotions and feelings, that's literally the same thing. No, it's not. Many people confuse the two. Okay? Now, all of these three areas though, this is where some of the most, these are what I consider in here is the mental models. This is how you're thinking about the world, which alters your performance. Some of the best motivational speakers are being paid hundreds of millions of dollars to train people on how to change their thinking. You may have heard of some. Okay? But they still aren't going deep enough because your emotions are actually based on your physiology, what's actually going on inside your body. If you turn an ankle, okay, you break your arm, you've got a headache, you may be done for the rest of the day. I don't want to work at all. So does that alter your performance? Yes or no? Okay. So your physiology is what you really got to look for. Now, with physiology, what physiology means though is that there's signals that are coming from your body in the form of electrical, electromagnetic, and chemical energy that goes into your brain. Okay, all of these different forms of energy are collecting inside your brain, and basically what you have here is you have energy in motion, and E motion. That's what's determining everything else. So what are some of the physiological areas then that we need to focus on in order to maximize your performance? We've got the amount of energy production that you can have. Because probably now you guys are eating, you're probably feeling great. Say about 2, 3 o'clock, that dip goes down. Okay, your energy goes down, you know what that feels like. So that's something that you should maintain. Next we have your communications. The communications that are going on inside your body. I just talked about these energy flows that are going into your brain. If any one of these are disrupted, your brain doesn't know what's going on. It can't make sense of things anymore. It's kind of like operating in a company where all the phone lines are gone, all the internet's gone. Everybody's still there, looking for work to do, but they can't communicate out. Next one is recovery. Your ability, you're going to do damage to yourself every single day, but how well can you repair and come back? Because you're spending money every day in your business, how well are you able to regenerate that income so that way you can spend more the next time? Your environment, what area are you working in? The air you're breathing, the people you're exposed to, the lighting that you're in. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? These are all things that affect you. Your redox potential, this is also how well you perform. And inflammation, how much damage you're doing to your body. Now, all of these areas here, if you don't maintain and have control over it, because most people don't have control over any of this stuff. And even the people who are really good at understanding their emotions, they're good over here, but they have very little control over what's going down here. Now, from what you just saw, there's things that your brain doesn't know is going on. So if in any of these areas you have any variants, such as stressors coming into your life. Now, if stressors start affecting any one of these areas, increase in inflammation, lowering in your redox, bad environment that you're in, your recovery goes down, your loss of communications, and you have horrible energy. Now, where's your brain and your performance? Look what it's balancing on. That's about ready to topple over. So these are the areas that I talk about for performance. So when you look, though, at the most important leadership qualities that are necessary to run a business, you ask any business coaches that are out there, these are the top skills and qualities that they look for, okay? Creativity, integrity, global thinking, influence. Well, all of these go away when you're under stress, when you're exposed to stressors. And I don't just mean, when I say stressors, I don't just mean the mental emotion. I'm talking once again, everything that's happening to your body. Annie and I were talking before about what you're able to absorb, what's coming at you, and how I'm not able to learn all this stuff, and I'm not able to absorb it. No, you're not absorbing it. You're being bombarded by things. And your ability to filter and make sure that certain things don't get inside you can be a benefit. But when you're under this much stress and you have all of this leadership qualities that are gone, that means that now you're experiencing executive dysfunction. And this is a real thing. This really happens in business. It's called burnout in the past. All right? And now you're either close your business down because you can't handle it anymore, or you might get fired because you can't do your job anymore. So this is something that's really important. But now, this may seem a little woo-woo, so let's talk about some real numbers. Executive dysfunction is also known as presenteeism. Now, you may have heard of absenteeism. That's where you're too sick and you can't come to work. But presenteeism is when you're at work, where you're out of it. You don't want to work. So now what happens there? You're talking about you're unproductive, you're sick, you're making mistakes, you've got aggressive people, and you're being aggressive as well. You can't really work in that capacity. Now, according to the U.S. Commerce, the annual cost of businesses is between $150 to $250 billion annually. So right there, you've got between 150 billion reasons to make sure that you are able to maintain performance, not for you, for your business. So what is it that causes some of these issues, though, inside a company? Because for whatever task you're doing, there's two areas. There's challenge, and there's your ability and skill. If those don't match up, you've got problems. Let's take a look. So if right here you have the average, let's imagine that that's the average right there. If you've got a low ability and low skill, and a low challenge, excuse me, you have apathy. It's like a McDonald's worker. There's somebody working fast food. Okay? But if, as you increase in challenge and tasks, now you're looking at worry, anxiety, because you've got no skills, you're demanding more. How do you think that that's going to deal with your performance? It's going to have some problems. So what do you do instead? Now, you know what? I'm going to go out there, I'm going to train a little bit. You hire some of these corporate trainers to come in and teach us about this. That's fantastic. Now, you're relaxed. You got a low challenge, but you have more skill, I'm relaxed. Relaxation's not bad, but if I'm in a high performance business, that's the last thing that I want my people to necessarily be in. I want them to be doing things. So I want to increase, and if you're increasing your skills even more, but if you don't challenge people, now you got more. But I want people up over here, arousal. Now we're starting to somewhere interesting. If I can have my people be aroused where they've got enough ability and skill and it matches the tasks, not bad. But that's not even good enough. There's two other areas that are much more interesting. Control. That's something that people really enjoy having, where they know what's going on, they're able to do their job, get in and out. But the problem there is there's still sometimes a loss of passion. You're in control, you know your job, you've got a secure job, but you're just not excited about it. And so there's another area called flow. Now flow is when your skills match that task. Maybe it stretches it just a little bit so that you're able to grow. Flow though, we have yet to see the upper limits of flow. Now flow has been studied for many, many years, mainly in sports athletes and in the military. Very rarely has it been used or explained in the business world, and most people don't know about it. But when you are in the state of flow, you may have felt it before. It's when time slows down. When your awareness and your actions start to merge together. And even in the military, we've seen that learning time can be cut in half. Who's heard of Malcolm Gladwell? 10,000 hour guy, right? Okay. They showed that they took expert marksmen and they scanned their brainwaves. Then they would take, while they were in flow state, then they would take amateur marksmen, put them in exactly the same brainwave patterns, and they were able to shoot just as well as the expert marksman in half the training time. So when you are in the flow state, you can literally cut your learning time down from 10,000 hours to 5,000 hours. To 5,000 hours. Okay? So basically the flow state is the highest level of performance you can ever achieve that we know of right now. But now, these are, and this is so powerful actually, that Microsoft and some of the largest corporations out there are actually using flow states to manage people and making sure that they are in an environment that allows flow state to foster. You may have heard Google does this as well, where 20% of an employee's time is allowed to explore whatever it is that they want. And some of their largest projects have come out of that passive research that people do. So the flow state is really, really productive. Now, McKinsey and Company actually did a great study where they followed some of the top executives out there and they trained them in how to maintain the flow state. And they tracked, so they took top executives and they tracked them over 10 years. And they found out from those executives that they had 5 times the productivity. Okay? That's 500% increase in productivity. What does that mean? That means if you're in the flow state, you could come into work on Monday with as much work as your steady state performing coworkers would take an entire week. Who would want something like that? Would that be an advantage for your business? Okay? So let's ask that question that we had before. What are executives and entrepreneurs hired for? They're hired for performance. Because we know that they're paid to think, but they're hired for performance. So if you can't perform, that means also you can't think. So the question for you is performance part of your business strategy? Are you making sure that you and your teammates are doing everything you need to do to maximize your performance? And for me, this is what we're talking about today, and we're still going to be covering, is only part, because for me, the ultimate competitive advantage for a corporation is made up of 3 parts. Now, most people focus on the corporate strategy. Okay? Most people actually focus on the tactics, they're not focused on the strategy. But where they should be focusing on is the strategy. Next, they should be focusing on their mental models, how they think about it. This is where Tony Robbins get hired to come in and train people on that thinking. And that's great. But the other area is your corporeal performance, how your body performs. All of those 3 things combined, now you have a competitive advantage, regardless of what your business is. So, if flow state is so powerful, do you have any questions right now? Any questions, anybody? No? Anybody confused? No? So, if flow state is so powerful, why isn't everybody doing it? Well, you can argue, oh, because people don't know about it. But now you know about it, you can probably go out and try it, and I'm telling you right now, you're still going to have problems doing it. Why? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, these are the 5 phases for the flow state. First one is the struggle phase. That's where you're absorbing all the information you possibly can. You're overloading your brain with stuff, and you're freaking out. Have no idea what to do with all this stuff. The problem is that it doesn't feel good. And the more stressed you are, the less you're going to be able to absorb all that information. Okay, but let's say you're able to get past that. Once you get past that, you go into the release phase. This is where you go, you know what? I'm good. It'll come to me. I'll figure it out. I'm going to go watch a movie. And amazingly, during that time, that's called the release phase. That's where things start moving from your conscious brain, the CEO brain. It gets shifted now into the back brain, 400 billion bits per second processing power. Now you start getting some interesting things going on. And once you pass the release phase, you get into that flow state. You ever been in the shower, having this problem that you just can't figure out? You're in the shower, all of a sudden, boom, you got it. And you're jumping out to go. Or as soon as you wake up from a nap, oh, now I got the solution. That's when you were in the flow state. But that was done accidentally. We want to learn how to do it all the time. Want to see something? Oh. So once you get into the flow state, though, now you have to actually have your brain rewire and repattern so that way you can maintain and lock this information in. Okay? The problem with that, though, is if you don't have the right neurotransmitters or the right chemistry going on in your brain, you can't make those new connections. You can't make those patterns. You can't learn these things. And you can get locked out from the rest of the phase because you can't get back in. So now, the last part, though, if you can get past that, is recovery. And recovery is important because the flow state is very, very expensive to your body. Why is it expensive? Let's take a look. So, when you're in the flow state, there are 5 neurochemicals, neurotransmitters that your brain is flooded with. Okay? You have dopamine for attention, pattern recognition. You have anandamide, which comes from the Sanskrit word bliss. Okay, so you can almost imagine what this thing makes you feel. It's an endocannabinoid. Okay, the same receptors that marijuana hits, this chemical hits. So you make this inside your brain. Norepinephrine, also known as noradrenaline. Okay, so this is that feeling that gets you going and gets you excited to want to go do stuff. Serotonin for relaxation and mood. And then endorphins. This is the feeling chemical. This is when you get that runner's high when you go on out and exercise. That's that chemical there. So these chemicals are 5 of the most potent, addictive, and dangerous neurochemicals that your brain can make. But they're all vitally necessary if you want to be in the flow state. So if they're so expensive to make, now we have to figure out, well, what do we need to do to generate those? Okay? So let's look at energy production. Now, I like looking at the body the same way a business works. This is the analogy that I use. And for a business, cash flow is the life energy of any business. Anybody disagree with me? Okay. So why? Because cash flow, you have to make sure that you're leveraging every single penny that you got, right? You have to make sure that you're leveraging every single penny that you got, and you have to minimize friction of that money, so that way you can do as much as you possibly can with your money, okay? So that's a financial currency. But in the body, we have a biological currency. Now, it's not food. I'll tell you that much. What the biological currency for the body is electrons. Okay, now this is going to get a little bit sciencey. I'm going to warn you right now, or we'll all go through it together and we'll take it easy, okay? Why do I say electrons? Well, does anybody know what this is? This is the powerhouse of the cells. Anybody know what it's called?
Mitochondria?
Thing, okay? So, mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cells. Every cell has thousands of mitochondria. So you have trillions of them all through your body. Now, what's interesting about it is the inside of the mitochondria. The inner membrane of the mitochondria looks like this. This is where they talk about the energy of the body is generated, and that's all cool. But the part I want you to focus on is these areas here in red. electron carriers, electron flow, electron chain transport. It doesn't say carbohydrate chain transport, it doesn't say fat, it doesn't say protein, it says electrons. So all the food that you eat, everything you're eating right now, has to be able to break down into electrons to go through here to do work. Alright, so if mitochondria is so important, where do we have them really concentrated? Inside the body, we have in increasing order, we have mitochondria in our gut, in our brain, and the most inside our heart. Now, interestingly, this correlates with where we have most of the health problems today. Majority of the health problems, the third most dangerous health issues are autoimmune issues. After that, we have Alzheimer's disease, and the number one killer is still coronary disease. So where you find the most mitochondria, if your mitochondria are not working properly, that's where you're going to start having problems. So let's talk though about the brain, because we're talking about flow and focus. And that's where we are right now. So the brain is only 2% of the mass of the body, but it accounts for 20% of the energy requirements. So in order to be able to get all of those areas running, if energy is that important, and once again, I look at energy and electrons the same way you do money. So that means I need an investor. I need somebody to put money into my business, or I need to be able to sell stuff so that way I can make money, right? Okay. So what are the investors for the body? In descending order. So from the most powerful to the least. The sun. The sun is the number one best source for electrons for your body. We'll talk about why in a bit. Next is water. Cleaner, the better. Next is the earth itself. I don't have time to go into it today, but if you really want to know why, you can ask me after. And last is food. Food is fourth. But yet, if you ask most nutritionists, most health experts out there, what do they tell you? Number one. And if you really want to know why, we don't have time either, I will explain that another time. But let's talk about the sun. Why do I say the sun is one of the most powerful sources for electrons? Well, in 1905, a young man by the name of Albert Einstein wrote a paper talking about the photoelectric effect. Okay? You may know it as solar cells. Okay? This process takes any conductor, metal, or a semiconductor, it's filled with electrons, and when ultraviolet light hits that metal, it pops electrons off to produce work. So we know physically it's there. If we look at some of the most current sensitive cells that are out there, they're all based on organic dyes. Organic, organism, okay, making connections. All right. What's interesting about this, so same thing, when the sun comes up and it hits, they pop off electrons and you have work being done. What's interesting about the dyes is this shape over here. Now, these are really interesting because what these are, they're called pi electron clouds around these chemicals. Whenever you see that symbol, like that shape, that hexagonal shape, you can pretty much be aware that there are a lot of electrons around there. Kind of the same way the metal works, kind of the same way that solar panel works. So who cares, Louis? Well, I don't understand why you're showing me. Well, there's a reason. Remember this picture? Notice anything interesting? 4 out of the 5 neurochemicals all have those shapes. That means that they all respond to sunlight, to ultraviolet light specifically. Why? So basically, if you want to be in flow, you need to have the sun. And for over 600 million years, life on this planet has evolved underneath the sun. But in the last 70 years, things have started changing a lot. Why? Well, let's take a look. So this is the sun. This is the spectral graph of the sun. So all the colors that come out of the sun. Now, the area that we're talking about today is right here. That's the ultraviolet light. Okay? Now, if you look at all the other lights that are out there, or all the other artificial lights, this incandescent light doesn't have a lot of UV. That's some, but not a whole lot. Halogen lights, even less. Fluorescent lights, nope. Warm white LEDs, nope. And cool white LEDs, and nothing. Okay? Now, what's interesting though is cool white LEDs, because this is where most of our devices are from. This is what you're looking at right now. This is what's on my laptop there. That's most of the lights here can be as well. Okay, some of these are fluorescent as well. Okay. What's interesting about cool white LEDs is that blue spike, because that blue spike there also causes dopamine to be destroyed in your brain, so that you can't operate. So you're constantly exposed to this. How do I know? Well, according to the EPA, 93% of our lives are spent indoors. The average American is spent indoors. That means you break it down, 87% indoors, 6% inside cars. Only 7% if you're outside. That's 1/2 of 1 day per week. And the average person spends outdoors. And you wonder why we're having problems with performance. Basically, that's like saying, you know what, all you investors, you know what, forget it. I don't want to deal with you. I've heard about this thing called payday loans. I'm going to go get some money from them instead. I don't need your help to focus on my business. And basically, Cuban goes like that. Okay? That's what's basically happening when you ignore all these other things that actually allow you to produce here. So let's go to the next area. Check the time. Okay, we're still good on time. So the other area is loss of communication. So let's go back to the mitochondria. So the mitochondria are really, really powerful because mitochondria are where hormones start. So we talked about some of the chemical energy and communication. One of the major communication systems inside you is hormones. Some testosterone, estrogen, right? Okay. So inside the mitochondria, with a little bit of cholesterol, yeah, I said cholesterol, okay? So anybody who's on a low cholesterol diet, sorry, you cannot make hormones in order to think properly. So doctors have got something to explain what to do because for the past 30 plus years, they've been selling us a bill of goods that it doesn't work. So mitochondria takes cholesterol and it's able to produce the master hormone known as pregnenolone. Now pregnenolone has an interesting function because it actually goes two routes. It's used for progesterone and DHEA. DHEA is a growth hormone, and it's used to make testosterone and estrogen. Okay. Important for both men and women. If you're off balance with either one of them, you start seeing different issues like andropause or menopause. So now, progesterone, let's go back to that for a second. Because progesterone has a neat trick. It makes cortisol. You may have heard of cortisol, right? That hormone that comes out when you're stressed. Oh, if I got too high cortisol, that's bad. Cortisol is not the enemy. Cortisol is the hormone that allows you to respond to stress. If you've got some stress going on, your cortisol is high, it makes you actually feel good. So that can be awesome. But if you've got a lot of stress and you don't have cortisol, we'll talk about that in a second. So the thing is though that when you are under chronic stress, and that means your body's demanding more cortisol be made. What happens is something called the pregnenolone steal, where more pregnenolone is going into cortisol production and less is being made available for DHEA, testosterone, and estrogen. So just like business, where you have something happening upstream, it starts destroying things downstream. So cortisol though, why am I going into all this? Because cortisol has an interesting effect on these chemicals. The higher your cortisol, you're chronic. So let's get right with the focus on dopamine. Higher your cortisol also affects your anandamide. So you're not able to feel that bliss when you're under stress. Also affects norepinephrine. It also lowers serotonin. And it gives you a tolerance to endorphins. What does that mean? Anybody exercises, you may have noticed that as you're working out, you feel great for the first 3 months when you just started working out, so it's awesome. But then over time, I got to work harder and harder and harder to get some effect. That's what's happening there. So basically, what am I saying? I'm saying that you cannot enter the flow state when you're chronically under stress. Who's under stress? Okay. So let's find out though, are you chronically stressed? Most people, might feel awful, fatigue, muscle aches. Okay, you can read these. I'm not gonna talk about it. Okay. So the question now is, what would you do if this was your business? If your business was underproducing, wasn't making enough money, had bad morale, what would you start doing? Okay? For me, from what I've seen, most business experts tell their businesses to do, they track key performance indicators. Track your sales numbers. If you have a website, you know how many hits you're getting, you know where they're coming from. True or not true? True? Okay. But what do you do for your body? Because your body also has key performance indicators. So this is one that we're going to look at. So we're talking about cortisol. So if you're feeling crappy like that, and you go, you know what, I'm going to go to the doctor. Hey, doc, what's going on? Doc says, all right, let's check your cortisol. Doc will look at one blood test where they draw your blood one time and they get to a number, 30.7. All right, the normal cortisol range is 23 to 42. Are you good? Are we good? Yes? Okay, good. Here's the problem with that though. A single point, just like in business metrics, a single point of data tells you nothing because you have to be able to understand trends. You need to be able to track those things. Well, this is a different type of test, same as cortisol, but they do it with saliva, and it measures your cortisol 4 times. So, for those of you who can't see, the red and the green are the high and the low range, and the yellow is the actual patient and their results. Cortisol, normally you want it high in the morning, lower at noon, lower in the afternoon, and even lower at night. That's the process you want it. So now, when you track this one for this person, they're at 23, 5, 3, and 1.5, and guess what? Number matches exactly the same. Still good? Right? Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. If you look at this, normal, they're high in the morning, that's fine. But they're barely normal midday. So they're actually kind of not feeling too good around noon. They go even lower during afternoon. And then when they should actually be going lower, they're actually higher. That means they're more stressed at night than they should be. So now this is not normal. Once you start seeing this pattern, this is cortisol dysregulation. Now you got things completely out of whack and not working the same way. But doc, oh, I'm fine, I'm within range. Now when you start digging deeper, now you get to some interesting stuff. So now, let's explain why. So if you had no stress, okay, nobody in here doesn't have any stress, right? Okay. But let's say you had no stress. Sure, absolutely. 23 to 42, if you're in that range, beautiful. How many times does your doctor ask you, how's work? What's going on? How's life going on? How are you sleeping? They don't ever ask you about the stress, they just give you the number and that's it. But let's look at what happens when you are under stress. Now it goes up, your cortisol, and that's okay. I would expect to see that. When I'm under stress, I want my cortisol to be higher. But it should only be what's known as acute stress. Just a little bit, not chronic. If I gotta go catch a cab or something and I gotta run, yeah, I want cortisol to be up so I can catch that cab. But I want it to go back down once I'm done. But if you chronically have stress, now you're not able to adapt. Now cortisol is going back down. And now we start having problems because over time, you go into collapse. Now, most people will come and start seeing a doctor when they're in these 2 phases. What does that look like, though? So let's take a look at it this way. We expect to be optimal. That's what we want to have. Optimal performance at all times. However, because of life going on and things happening, we actually start having imbalances of stress. That means that your performance has dropped down over there. As you keep going, because you're not, you feel okay, I'm fine. Now you start having some symptoms. Headaches, ache, pain, the normal regular pains. You're supposed to have. You're not. But not until you actually have low energy. That's usually the first indicator that people go, oh, something's up. Let me actually go do something about it. What do? Cup of coffee, couple of Red Bulls, I'm good. Brings me back up. Still got my symptoms, but I feel good. If you haven't addressed anything that's going on, it actually drops you lower, and if you keep going this way, you have death. So, and death isn't what, and I'm not even talking about death in you, I'm talking about potentially death in your business. Because you're not able to perform. So, everybody talks about stress. Everybody talks about stress. More importantly, they also talk about elimination of stress. I'm sorry. There's no way you're going to be able to eliminate stress from your life. It's not going to happen. So that's not what you need to be focusing on. What you need to be focusing on is how to reprogram your stress response. And the way we talked about it before was that the back of your brain, that's the one that handles all the stress. That's the one that needs to be reprogrammed because it's the oldest part of your brain. It's not designed for this new world. It still has the old programming. It knows how the old way works. Doesn't know anything about the new stuff. So how do you do that? Because this is the way your heart looks like when you're under stress, when you're frustrated. It's all over the place with the heart. Okay? What we want to be able to do is shift over to something like this, where your heart rate is going normal. Okay? That's shifting over to appreciation. This is the state where it starts allowing you to easily get to a flow. The question is now, how do you do that? Well, one way is to give up all your worldly possessions, go become a monk and live on the mountains, okay? But guess what? Most people are probably not going to do that. So thankfully, because of technology, we now understand what's going on inside the body. So one area is here, is this yellow nerve that's over here. It's called the vagus nerve. It's a nerve that connects most of your major organs into your brain. When any one of those organs are stimulating that vagus nerve, you automatically shift from sympathetic or stressed to parasympathetic or relaxed. And I can give you a lot of research on that and why. But one of the tools that I love using is called feedback or heart rate variability. This is a small device, and I've got it right here, that allows you to track your heart rate. Now, when you think about your heartbeat, you think boom, 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 boom. And when they measure your heart rate at the doctor's office, they basically take the average, right? They take your pulse and they go, it's 70. Well, imagine that with music. Imagine if you were playing Mozart and you said the average of all the notes that Mozart plays is was that Mozart or was that the Beatles? I don't know. So the variance is what's important. It's the distances between the heartbeats. If they were all 1 second apart, that's a stressed out heart. Where the heart has variance and can change, that's something that's much more productive. So now I want to go in the last few minutes. I'm going to tell you right now, it's 12:52 for anybody who has to leave. You're welcome to. I appreciate your time. But the rest of you who want to stay, I've got a small demo. I'd love to have somebody volunteer to come home and check out this device and see if are you stressed right now and what do you need to do to actually shift out of it. Anybody interested? Come on. What's your name? Kate. Kate. What's your name? There we go. So now we're starting to move. So now, Kate, you've got two options. You can either stare at the screen if you want, or what you can do is you can look at this line that's this line over here, and I want you to breathe. As it goes up, I want you to breathe out. When it goes down, I want you to breathe in. Okay? After a few minutes, it's going to start synchronizing to your heart rate. So breathe in, belly out, contract back in. Okay? Deep belly breathe. Okay? Now, we can see where Kate is right now. So there's coherence ratio over here. There's low, medium, and high. Ideally, we want to be in the high state. That's when your heart and brain and everything is synchronized together. That's what we're looking at. Now, Kate is still in medium. And I've got her at the lowest setting possible. But let's see what we can do to change Kate around. Kate, are you good at that? Really? Great. That's awesome. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to count from 100 down by 3s.
board.
So now she's in green.
Out loud.
Out loud. Out loud. Out loud.
Oh my god.
It's like a sad
100,
thing.
97, 94, 91.
Doing good. But look at her heart. Look at her heart rate. Now her heart rate went up. Just jumped. Keep going. Okay, now she's switched. So back down to there. Come on, focus. Come on.
What did
Keep
I
going.
drop?
Yeah.
85, 82, 79.
Do you do a lot of yoga and okay? So she, okay, there she goes. So now she dropped it. She finally dropped down. She was able to actually maintain pretty well for that. Okay, on the low state. But now she's down there. Now, but notice once again where she was before. So she was pretty calm, excited about doing this. The second we talked about math, she went up. Okay. Did you feel any different?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's change this. Let's try to see what we can do to keep you in the zone for as long as possible. I want you to really look at that. Breathe in, breathe out. See how fast we can switch it back. Look, jumps right back to there. I should have put her on one of the higher levels because you already know yoga. You know already how to focus your mind. Okay, but let's give some other use. You did a great job. You guys can see the difference over there. This also gives you the opportunity to see this is the zone that you want to be in, and when you're out of it. Okay. So does anybody else want to give this a shot? Anybody who's not a yoga master, please. Anybody who's not a yoga master want to give it a shot? No, no takers? All right.
Tori.
Tori? All right, same thing. Alright. So now, Tori, you are in the red. Okay. How are you feeling right now?
Nervous.
Nervous? Okay. Alright. So now you jumped up a little bit there. So, when was the last time you went on vacation?
A month ago.
A month ago. Who were you?
Friends. A wedding.
Where'd you go?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay. You doing anything fun there?
A wedding.
Those.
Those.
Who was the person you were most excited to see? Tell me about that person.
College friends. They're like the best. I was one of the bridesmaids.
Okay. Alright. Can you quietly think inside your mind? So I want to shift her over to green. Can you quietly think inside your mind the last time you had the most amazing vacation you ever remember? You remember that time? How it felt? I want you to breathe as well. All of the lines that are there. Now we've been with Tori for a while here talking about things, and she's thinking about a really happy thing that happened in her life. We may get started. But she's been in the red for quite some time. Okay, so no, that's normal. That's normal. That's the red is normal. Blue is really good, but the green is what you want. You're not dying. You're just Tori.
Okay.
Okay. What you're able to do though is with this now you can start seeing, okay, I'm not, my brain isn't where it's supposed to be. Now you have feedback. So now let's see if we can shift you over. So same thing before. What I want you to do, follow these lines. So as it goes, as you color breathe through. So breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Oh, there we go. Keep going. You focus on you. Oh, there we go. Now we jumped around. So just using a device like this now allows her. Do you feel a difference in your brain from where you were just a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. So a device like this allows you that immediate feedback that you need in order to make those changes possible. You do yoga, okay? When you first started, was it a pain? get to do to learn to understand what it is, how my brain is supposed to be in this mode versus this mode?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's that struggle phase you got to get through. That's probably one of the reasons most people leave after a while, right? Because they have no frame of reference to understand. I'm supposed to be quieting my mind. You're not quieting your
That's
mind
why I
at all.
love yoga.
That's why you love yoga. Me too. Me too. I agree. Me too.
Guys, it's about the journey.
Exactly. Totally. That's the first reason why I left initially. Because then I realized it's not about quieting your mind. It's about understanding that you're going to have a thought come in, being able to let it go and come back. You're going to have a thought come in this way, being able to let it go and come back. But without that feedback, it takes you 40 years, whatever it is, in order to get there. This is that shortcut. This is that hack that allows you to do that. So, anybody else want to give it a shot? Because we're probably about done here. Thank you so much for coming out. Okay. Otherwise, that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Yeah. That's pretty much the end of my presentation. And I want to thank you guys for coming.